Hello everybody. We have the new official patch notes for the launch of Ethereum Restart. And let's get straight into it because I know there's a bunch of cool stuff going on. So obviously Mio is going to be in the permanent summoning pool. I my thoughts on her, I think because of everything that's happening, I think she's still going to be a very viable unit. She does have a lot of similarities to Kraken, but obviously because she's an SSR instead of an SR, she's going to be more viable in certain situations. But let's see that now, see how it's going, because we do have a lot going on here, and we also have Makoto. Odd. I thought, now that's the blue one. I thought in the video that she was the wind element, but I obviously must have seen things wrong. But she's gonna be an odd stripper because I believe she is a dispeller, kind of like Heinrich. So that's gonna be awesome. Having a SSR version of Kraken and a new SR stripper into the pool, I feel like is going to be great because we can never have enough um characters that can strip buffs off the team. We got to have more of those because there's not that many in the game right now. But they both look amazing. I always love the big power fist gauntlets that they have going on. Now this is the new game mode, the United Front, which is the Union guild fighting, which the more I think about it, the more I feel like is going to be a definite central point because of how big it looks. Definitely going to be spending a lot of time, and with how everything is going to be, I believe that the PvP for guilds are going to be pretty fun if this is what it entails. A new little mode, shell story, just the normal little modes to keep your attention. It looks pretty cool. Gather orbs, gather whip beads, the Shell Paradise Prize. I wonder what that is. Hmm. Anyway, we also have the Prismatic Wish Machine. Now, I'm not too sure if this is a paid event or if you can earn this currency in game some way. Uh, Hopefully it's not a paid event. They already had that with the beta where you spend so much money you get double what you need. Uh, it just feels a little predatory if they would throw another paid event immediately out the gate like this. So hopefully this is just currency you can earn in game by doing random things. Core gameplay expansion, new include story content. Okay. New system and key features, adjusted the guaranteed SSR to 80. They talked about that. Pull history is, they also talked about this. The pull history is going to be split between the different banners. So it's not all compiled into one banner, which is great. It was really confusing trying to figure out how much pity you had on a certain banner. That the Hydra vouchers, that was for the beta. Added a region period. uh, it's just so not everybody's grouped together because I think some people based off the region have a little bit of a head start. So I think they're doing this to try and equalize it so nobody has any kind of advantage. Added ban protection mechanism for summit arena matches where both players are above Diamond 1, enabling pre-banned for one Animus and ban protection for a third Animus. Interesting. Okay, we'll have to see how that works out and see how that really affects how people play. Added attribute bonus preview for Animus Ascension. Okay. Uh, Early exit settlement rules for Infinity Train, allowing players to claim rewards based on the current point stage on early exit. Okay, I don't think I ever had to do that, but cool. As they're adding more viability to just trying your best at things. Yeah. Added language, clearance time, and team composition displays for Echoes and Ember Trek. Level display for avatars. Okay. And some appearance. Yeah. Combat balance changes. Okay. let's get into this. This is the real meat potatoes of this. Besides, obviously, them adding the new characters, let's see what they have going on for their balance changes. In the official launch update, we have adjusted the skill mechanics and prowess coefficients of selected Animus students to balance their PvP and PvE performance. We extended our gratitude to players for their active feedback in previous test phases based on the combat data collected. These optimizations aim to enhance the diversity and balance of team composition. Following the official launch, we will continue to monitor combat data and cautious adjustments to ensure players enjoy both a better experience with diverse strategies and fair matches. Awesome. Love to hear it. I love balance changes, honestly. Keeps the game fresh. It makes it so not one character is always the best. So I'm glad they're taking a close eye and monitoring the situation so not any one unit is overpowered compared to the other units, or not so overpowered, but overused compared to other units. You don't want to see every single team composition with that one unit centered around it every single time. More diversity means more fun. Combat related adjustments. Animus units ascended to 5 stars and 6 stars will each gain 5 points. Okay, so that's really just making it so it's not going to change anything because it's going to be a 10 points in total, right? Five for 5 and another 5 for 6 stars. So it's going to be 10 points in total. It's not really going to affect anything because it's everybody's base speed is going to be risen by 10 at 6 stars. But what it is going to affect is the PvE. It's going to allow us to easily outspeed, not easily, but more easily outspeed the PvE. So it's going to help us farm faster, help us be able to make those break points so we can take our first turn. It's huge, huge buff to the entire team. Improved combat stability, fixing potential error reports on displays. Okay, cool. Animus specific adjustments. Okay, so this is it. This is the balance changes we get to see. All right, Chloros. Now, this arguably my favorite character in the game, off of the design aesthetic alone. Now, unfortunately, he hasn't been really a best pick for anything besides like the guild boss. So let's see what they've done. All right, his ultimate, Doom's Resurge, deals he got buffed from 400 to 480%. Okay, I don't know why they have the buffing text as red, but we just got to. All right, so from 400 to 480 to a single enemy unit. Okay, that is a huge damage increase. That's almost a 100% damage increase. That is crazy. I hope I get him, just because I feel like it's gonna be so much fun to just delete things and have that Reaper aesthetic. Also, I feel like the guild bosses are going to be really important to take down specifically. And if we just bring it over here, let me just bring it over. But he is the top single damage unit in sustain in the game. All right, DPS rankings. So in the DPS rankings, he is the top single target sustain in the game. Not even like right behind him. It's not even a competition, but it's Rosa as the second highest. You see this gap? It is amazing. So he is definitely keeping his role as top DPS. For guild bosses and the 3 like wolf things, I forgot what it was called. He is probably going to be a top tier selected unit as long as you get the right element for him. But let's get back into the patch. Now, Veronica, she's had a lot of issues of them trying to balance and adjust her. So let's see what they did. So she still has the 80% chance to steal buffs, but instead of having a 50% chance to spend to spread all her buffs on each individual buff, it is 100% chance to spread it just as a base. So you don't have to roll it. As long as you steal the buff, you spread all the buffs. No fuss. That is huge. She is going to be put back into the spotlight because a lot of people stopped worrying about her. They didn't want to build her because it was just too much to have to worry about. Oh, I got a 50% chance on each individual buff after the 80% chance. It was just too much to deal with. It was just too much. You didn't really care that much. But now she's definitely going to be a top pick for PvP and some PvE scenarios. So good for her. I like that change. It really was upsetting because I like her design. But good stuff. Good stuff. All right. Spirit Water Mia. Excuse me. So her number 2 skill cooldown got reduced by 1 turn from 5 to 4. Awesome. I believe, let's take a look at this. Characters, red. I believe that is her strip. Yeah, this spell, AoE turn meter. Yes. So that is cool that she got her strip reduced, and her ultimate heals for an extra 5%. So that's just a buff all around. Cool. So we haven't seen any nerfs so far. Let's look at Zeta. Now, I hope that's pronounced. Now, she also got buffed. So each individual instance of damage got a 10% increase. So that is going to be huge with the more prolonged fights. All right, awesome. Now, the first nerf. My girl Tiamat. Feel sorry for her, but it was needed. Too many people were hyping her up. She was just a must pick the entire time. But let's take a look. So upon reaching 8 stacks of Bloodbath or entering ultimate form, she has 20% healing reduction. So instead of getting a third of her maximum health back when she transforms, it's only 10%. Which, it's not going to cripple her, but it is going to make it so you have to work around her a little bit more instead of just her just being this all demonic like destruction, right? She's gonna have to have some backup. She can't just do everything herself and just be the god. And her healing received is minus 1% per stack, which it doesn't sound like a lot, but it does add up. It does add up over time. It's unfortunate, but I do feel like it was a needed buff. People are relying on her too much. Hopefully now people will look at the other units that are getting massive buffs and be like, maybe I'm going to go for someone else. All right, Rahu. He's getting buffs? He was hitting like a truck. Okay. I would say this is probably the... I don't like he needed to be changed, but I definitely don't feel like he needed a buff. That's for sure. But let's take a look. So his skill 1, it deals damage off a 30% increase from 320 to 350 of his defense. That's crazy. And each stat gives him an extra point of defense. Like I was saying here, that 1% per stack adds up, and it can't be dispelled. Now, Wrathful Form, 8 stacks, maximum of 40%. Crazy that he got basically buffed all around, except for his ultimate, which, let's be real, it wasn't really anything. It was kind of just like something to do in the meantime. But that's crazy they buffed him that much. All right, Ling Lao. Each heal has a 70%, instead of a 65% chance, it's a 75% chance to verify a debuff from the target. And a 75% chance to apply a whale prayer. She was already the best healer in the game. We really didn't need her to get any better. I don't know what they're thinking about, but some of these units, in my honest opinion, did not need these buffs. Like, Rahu's already sitting nice and high at the top. Veronica definitely needed that. Chloris needed that just because he's so niche. Zato really wasn't even talked about. Tiamat needed the nerf because she was just too overused. But Ling Lo and Rahu, I don't feel like they needed these buffs. I just don't feel like it. Now, Rosa, interesting. So the target pushback from 10% to 8%, I get why. She was a little oppressive. I think that's a very reasonable nerf. It's not, they're not nerfing it by half or anything. It's just 2%. She's still going to be viable. She's still going to do mad damage. It's not affecting her damage. It's just the target putback. So I feel like that is completely fine and a good buff for the time being because Rosa was also rising in popularity a lot. Bjorn. So, start of battle, he just gets a flat buff for his attack, and his ultimate gets a flat buff too. You know, I feel like he needed this. He kind of fell off a little bit. People were hyped about him because of his looks. And then once they figured out, oh, he doesn't just immediately obliterate things immediately, he kind of fell off, and other units were taking his place. So I feel like this buff was needed to keep him in the at least the PvE scene, keep him relevant. All right, Lilith, she gets a 4% buff to her skill 2. No, okay, okay. No, extra 4% of her maximum health, everybody. I feel like that's fine. She already did a lot of damage, but this isn't an absurd buff, so I feel like it's okay. A good buff. Now, Kloss. Now, I heard a lot about this, and I looked into this beforehand, I will say it, but this is actually, it may look like a nerf. Oh, they're taking the speed out of her hacking in progress. They took the speed out of her hacked in. That's only a 20% speed in total, right? It's only 20% speed in total. But they gave her the speed down debuff on her skill 3. Now you're asking me, why is this a buff? Well, because speed down is 30% speed down at a base. That's what that tag is. 30% speed down. So you don't have to build it up. You don't have to go through the stacks and get all 3 stacks to get that 20% speed. Immediate upon activation, you get a 30% speed down for 2 turns. So you get a higher speed reduction, and it's immediate instead of a gradual. Nothing but a buff from my girl Kloss. I think she isn't a contender of pulling as a selector unit if you don't get her, honestly. If you get enough DPS, Kloss, she's a good unit, man. She's a good unit. Do not sleep on her. Now, Freya. 70% chance. I don't know. They're not saying it. It's in green text, so I'm assuming it's a nerf. But I don't have access to the creator server, so I'm gonna assume it's a nerf. I'm going to assume, but they don't give us anything to go off of. But if it is a nerf, I don't feel like it's really gonna affect her that much. 70% just the chance of pushback is fine. She already does a lot. Now turn dot. Okay, and they nerfed her? Is single target with each having 30% chance to push back turn meter. Okay. Okay, so 5% chance. Yeah, that's a good amount, but that's 4 instances of damage. So I don't feel like it's that big of a deal. I know turn dot is a good unit to have. She's a good stripper, good buffer, but I don't feel like it's really going to affect her performance all that much. A 5% chance, but it's 4 instances of damage. Yeah, I think she'll be fine. I think she'll be fine. Now Chiaki. I believe that's the healer Chiaki. Oh, she got buffed on her skill 1. She got buffed on her skill 2 by 10%. Ooh, okay. They want to make her more viable, and they got buffed on her skill 3. So they said she was underperforming. Let's give her an all-around healing buff so she is more viable. I already thought she was pretty good because not only does she heal, but she gives a damage reduction on the Origami Guardian. So it prevents further damage. I think she was just good in the first place, but whatever works. And more healers with bigger buffs. We got to keep her in line because we got that Ling Lao buff. We got to keep her in line and make sure she doesn't fall too far behind. All right, Dinah. Let's check out Dinah. So her skill 1, obviously, I saw this coming. Everybody and their grandma was using Dinah for every single team. Of course, she was going to get a nerf. Now, the steel turn meter, obviously, that's a hefty decrease of 10% off the skill 1. Now, this wasn't really the bread and butter. It was just nice to have. It's going to suck, but it is what it is. That's not the whole point of her kit. Thankfully, I don't see a nerf on her skill 3, which was the main part of the kit, but skill 2 also gets a nerf. Now, at true damage, it increases the attacker's turn meter by 6% instead of 10. Now, I get this. Now, why do I get this? It's because she already does so much. Having her do a turn meter boost still is asking for a lot. So, I understand all this. She was the kind of a jack of all trades that you wanted to have on any team she was viable in. She's still going to be that way. But now she's not as oppressive to the point where you might consider other units. All right, Kraken. Ooh, the big debuff. The big debuff of Kraken on his S3. They had to make him a little bit worse because we have Mio coming on. And with Mio coming in, we had to really segregate them to show she is the SSR while he is the SR. So what they did is they made it from a 75% chance for pushback to a 65% chance. Now, the big thing that Mio has is she has a lot of pushback in her kit. Now, so he can't do everything she does to a T. Now, pushback the turn meter, and now it's a 65% or 60% to 50% chance to freeze. So a 10% downgrade on both the pushback and the freeze. Now, is this going to affect him to the point where you don't want to use him? No. He's still going to be a great unit, and you'll be happy to have him on any account. It's just he's going to need a little bit of help. All right, Sonya. Now, I saw her getting a lot. I thought, because there's this right here. I thought this was just part of how she worked. Apparently not. Apparently it is a bug. Uh, I just kind of accepted it because it was a passive thing. It didn't really trigger off any condition. It just happened when her turn happened. So I just thought it was normal that she just kind of healed whether she was stunned or whatever. No, bug. Whatever. It is what it is. It just means she's going to be less viable, which what they want, because a lot of people were showing off how good she was. And now with the skill 2 passive, now let's see here. She got a healing decrease to 14% of her maximum health, and her healing effectiveness is 0.6 instead of 0.8. Now, I don't feel like this is that bad. Really, the big thing is they fixed the bug, which I feel like that was the main thing. That's what I mainly used her for, is because no matter what, you always had that consistent 2-person heal, whether she was frozen, feared, whatever. Now, not so much. You're going to have to build a little bit more resistance on her, but it is what it is. Now, whoever didn't see Marvel nerfed needed to get their eyes checked, because people were calling for it. People are overusing him. People were saying this guy is going to ruin the game. Well, here we are, and we got the nerfs. On his skill 1, it's a 40% chance, down from 50%, with a 10% decrease from 25 to 15% chance of a turn meter steal. Skill 1 was pretty good. Wasn't really why people used him, but that was what people liked about him, is that he had a really rounded kit. Now, this is getting downgraded, and his skill 3, obviously, skill 2 wasn't an issue, but the skill 3, the pushback of the target's turn meter was downgraded from 50 to 40%, and we have a extra turn added to the CD from 4 to 5. So at max. I believe you reduce it by 1, so it'll only go back down to its maximum at 4, which is kind of crazy. I feel like if they nerf this, they didn't have to increase the whole cooldown of it. But let's just see how it pans out and see how good or bad he is after the fact. Now, my main man Victor, he was getting a lot. He was getting a lot. But what they did, they had the nerf the boy. He was doing too much damage. They were having like on Inferno on the creator server, like a 10-second clear of him just demolishing people. So the increased damage dealt went from 15% to 9%. You know, a little bit hefty, but it was kind of warranted. He was doing a lot for an SR unit. I know that SR units are pretty much on par for the most part with SSR units, but he's just better than SSR units. Like, there was really no other unit you'd rather have. Victor and Diting, if you had them both on your team and had ample support for them on the team, just cleared every single target fight, no problem. And fixed the issue where the Puppet Fury could stack multiple shields. I don't feel like people really cared about that part. All right, Dorothy, what did they fix? Fix an issue where the skill was not being cast during auto battle. Cool. I don't feel like people really care about her anyway. They have different healers, different better healers. So, I mean, it's cool for the early game if you don't have a different healer to replace her with, but not a really big issue. Ooh, big nerf on number 41. So, that's a huge nerf. That's a 15% nerf on the turn meter push forward. So, I think she's going to be less viable. I think people are actually going to stop using her because of this. That is a hefty nerf, and this was the main thing people used her for, was that action advance. With this being a thing, I think people are going to stop using her altogether, and people are going to focus on Chiaki the Echo. 100%. 100%. Now, they're going to use her until they get Chiaki the Echo, but then they're immediately going to throw it to the side. I guarantee you. Unfortunate, but it is what it is. It was a good run for an R unit. It just had to happen. She was too good. She was used everywhere. Now following the adjustments on the White Fang, he's getting a nerf of 30% for each hit. Kind of warranted. He was basically on every single unit, so it didn't leave a lot of room for variety. So that's good. That's good. That's good. Artisan, uh, yeah, I saw that one coming too. Getting a decrease from 440% of your of the shield to 400% of your own defense. Now this with Rahu went crazy. Rahu just had the biggest shield in the world, and if they didn't nerf this with Rahu getting a buff, he was gonna be disgusting in RTA. Good thing, good thing. Kodaks of Magic skills cannot have their CD reduced. What does okay? Is this I think this is talking about the interaction with Lily, because I know there's an interaction that people are talking about where Lily could reset the cooldown of Codex Magic, so you could have like 4 ultimates in a row if you played it right. Uh, maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what they're talking about, because the Codex of Magic, its whole point is reducing the skill cooldown, so you can reuse it again. So I don't think it would be. I think it's you can't reduce that. Okay. That's what I'm gonna go with. That's what I'm hoping. All right, so Halloween fixed the issue with incorrect trigger probability. Okay, cool. Twilight Knight got a nerf. Before the main body act, deal 200 down to 160% of damage to the enemy with the lowest HP. Okay, I believe Twilight Knight's the Hornet, which, I mean, yeah, I could see that, but people aren't going to use it once they get high enough anyway. Okay, whatever. It's fine. Now Diamond Heart, it got a nerf from 360 to 300% of own defense. Probably again with the Rahu. All right. So that makes sense. That makes sense. Now, Animus interface in any other things, Phantom Theater adjustments. This is the thing that I was talking about that they need adjustments. Arena adjustment. Look at this. Animus interface. Okay. Just the text display. Okay. Nothing interesting there. Grim Pursuit threshold. Adjust the display. Okay. Fix an issue and make some pop up for the Shadowrunner boss. Could not be closed. Okay. That's not going. Now arena adjustments. Optimize the visual for Ether Arena. Improve the visuals. Modified leaderboards. Okay, so just issue fixing. Now, Phantom Theater, I did say that there was issues where people just couldn't figure it out. Optimize team formation, preparation rules, and text prompts. Hopefully, that'll help people figure things out easier. Fix the issue with abnormal leaderboards. Fix the issue caused by cross-week refreshes. Swapping challenges. Abnormal reward. Okay, so hopefully this optimization will help people figure out things a little bit better, because I know a lot. I recognize it a lot in the beta where people just could not figure it out for the life of them. No matter how much I tried to help them, they couldn't figure out that they needed to put everything in a specific order, and they just weren't getting it. So hopefully this will help people figure that out. Ember Track, Infinity Train, keep it game. Okay, so just adjustments. Okay, I think all in all, I know that I think Rahu and Ling Lao did not need those buffs, but besides these two characters, I think everything's pretty good. I feel like everything is in order with how the adjustments should be. And I feel like they're doing a good job. Now, they're obviously, if things are too nerfed or too buffed, they're going to make adjustments. They're going to figure things out. So don't feel like this is the end all be all of how every character is going to be for the rest of its time. They're going to make adjustments periodically to make sure everything's balanced. And I'm trusting them. They're doing things a proper way. They're not over buffing or over nerfing things. It's by small amounts, besides some characters that needed it. Granted, they needed it. But I feel like this is great. I cannot wait for these new characters and new events. I just cannot wait to get my hands on it. 3 days until this game's released, and I cannot be happier. Now, let me know what you guys think about it below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good one. Peace.